Hey everyone, Dan here. Welcome to the video. This is going to be a less formal one. I've decided to do something different and just keep this to the people that are more advanced. It's difficult because I'm seeing what's going on and I want people to hook into it. And so when I make my videos in public, I think somebody's going to see this for the first time and click on and go, what is this guy talking about? So I end up explaining too much. It's just not the best place. There are people ready to move on. So yeah, let me start throwing some things out. First of all, we need to understand very importantly that they had these memorized and we don't. We're at a disadvantage where there's things that I'm doing and more I realize, boy, they could figure it out up here. They knew these numbers. What I'm going to suggest is that there is a structure in here of numbers, but it's like a game, like a gaming platform. And the only way they can provide clues is to repeat words and numbers and create some sort of a structure within the verbiage. And that is what I'm seeing, that it looks to me very much so like they're doing. It is very consistent, everything that I can find. There are stuff I haven't interpreted yet, but as I interpret it, it reveals itself as still being on the template, just different forms of it. So the consistency has been complete. I see this as a very controlled and structured thing. This started, Babylonians had this going on. They had trigonometry. They were intelligent. They figured out, they were incredibly intelligent. This is nothing compared to what they were doing. This is pretty simple stuff on the inside. It's just getting there. We have to look at it differently. We're all carrying the same stuff. We just are not looking at it the right way. And I know that there are people in this world that know that. And we're not supposed to know. We're the general public. But what is there is for us to look into. What I've done is I've looked at a lot of different things, and that's how you see the patterns. Looking at a couple of things, it's hard to see it. Looking at a lot of stuff, you see it. I am not an expert in any of those areas. I know a bit about a lot of things. There are areas like in Genesis, there needs to be people involved in this that are not me. People like, Dr. Justin Sledge over at Esoterica. In Jewish analogs, what these names mean, what these cities mean, what it meant to them, all that kind of stuff. Boy, that's their department right there. I can see that there's something there, but I know that there's people that have probably spent their lifetimes already learning that stuff and would know it. All right, and this is just to reiterate, but I want everybody that's on board here to be in this very mental mode of being detached from the material and looking for a structure, not having an emotional detachment to it, but understanding there's something in here that will yield itself to careful analysis. And we should be able to find it and agree with each other when we find it. It'll be something mentally interactive. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. The way that the Bible is structured, this is an indicator to me that somebody knows what's going on. There are two creation stories. One I call the 7 rivers and one I call, the 7 days of creation, and the other one, the 5 rivers, those two. And they don't sound the same and they don't work the same. There's some repeating sequences happening in the first creation story, the 7-day creation story, that is not happening in the 5 rivers. There's different styles. They're written different. They sound different, and they're structured differently. They don't read the same. There's some repeating going on in the first one that is very key. That is something they added in later because the network had to grow. They started creating numerical and verbal structure in that first one, added it in. And then in the second, there's two. The only time I ever find 2 callings of anybody on any one of these monomyths is Noah, right here in the beginning. He's called 2 different times. Nobody's called twice. He's told 2 different times what to bring. And in one case, it's just pairs of animals. That was the original story. The second calling was added in that matches the first creation story. And that's when he's told to bring 7 pairs of something. So the 7s are going to figure very predominantly into this material. So the 7s were added in, and you can see where that went. And there's a reason why. They're creating a structure. They're adding to the religion to make it bigger. At the same time, they're adding what I'm just call this an analog farm. It's like we need to keep repeating this pattern over and over again without it ever sounding like we're repeating the pattern. So at some point though, it repeats so much, doesn't matter. That we can see it anyway. It's still common enough to see it. So 7s, 3s, they keep appearing all the way down into the New Testament. all the way down into Islam. Everything Abrahamic is this way. Okay. When you look at the Bible, you see that the numbers and the chapters were put in right in the beginning. Between day 6 and day 7 in the first creation story was called the end of chapter 1, and then it starts chapter 2, and then it goes day 7, and that is incorrect. If you go through the Bible and see where it was a Christian bishop that actually added in to help study, added in the chapters and verses, but and did so accurately throughout. But right there where that creation is, you can see he split it between day 6 and day 7. Instead of ending one at day 7 and then starting the next one, he split it right there. It's almost like they're trying to obscure. Let's try to hide this. When you realize that was added in later and you take it out and you section it out yourself, you go, yeah, that's not the right place to put it. The break is somewhere else. You can see someone's got their hands on this in the background intentionally. They know what they're doing, and they're trying to obscure it. So we treat it that way. Someone's got a game in here. They're trying to hide it from us, but they also want us to know it. They're trying to hide it from everybody, but they want the people who can figure it out to figure it out. That's what we're doing. We're on that path to figure it out. All right, I'm going to bring up a strange-looking something here. This is just my own, something that I'm working with at home. That's 7 days. What I've done here, I'll just explain that. You see how I've done that. Since I don't have it memorized, I have to use the search function to find things. So as I'm doing that and I'm looking for numbers and repeats of things, what I want to do is if I'm searching for a 7, I don't want to add something in here that adds a false count to it. So I'm putting it away. I know it's 7. Here, I've got creation, 5 rivers, man and woman emerge. That's why that looks goofy like that. That's just to help me search because I don't have it memorized. I'll pull up false memories if I add stuff in. So, okay, here's the end of the 7-day one that I'm talking about, and this is what we're looking for. And on the 7th day, God finished the work that he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all the work that he had done. So God blessed the 7th day. So right there's just 3 repeats of 7th day that is just like, well, that's kind of weird sounding. And it is. It's intentionally that way. This is day 7, said 3 times. Day 7 aligns side by side. It parallels with creation. But right after creation, either creation. They try to make it like one went into the other. But at the end of creation, we have man and woman, naked, not ashamed, in the Garden of Eden. So this is a point in time where we are happy kids before we've attached to life. So that's going to be the Garden of Eden. It's going to be 7, and it's going to be 3. All of those are going to represent that same space right there. So now we can start writing a story saying we need to get to 7, or we start with 7, or we start with 3 of something. We won't start in Eden again. Once we leave Eden, the religion does not allow it to go back to Eden. You can't go back to that place in your life. All right, this time I'm going to type in righteous because I'm reading things in here that get my attention. Let me show you this one again here. I'm going to read this. They are talking about Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abraham is talking to God. Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you then sweep away and not forgive it for the 50 righteous? It's going to start doing some righteous repeating and other numbers in here. And if you look at them, you go, hey, righteous was said 7 times. Righteous, righteous, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's one right up above it, but it's a different story. No, for I have chosen him that he may charge his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing that's righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring about Abram that he has promised him. Then the Lord said, how great is the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah. So this is the plea right here from Abraham to God, and right in that plea is where that 7 righteous comes in. So righteousness now becomes that pure state. You're wanting to be not attached to the things in the world that we can connect to. We tend to live through effect by watching the world and judging what is going on instead of living through understanding cause, and that what we're actually living through life is as we're doing that, we're kind of living through the final manifestation of something that's driving it deeper. And so we become a part of that system. The righteousness is a way to describe before we were born, before we were first sin, we were not attached to the world. We know all of that. So righteousness right there, you see how the numbers are going to be repeating and doing things like that, or Words are going to repeat a certain amount of times that make you go, that just sounds weird. All right, and it can quickly go off the rails. I can also see that 50 was repeated in there. Well, how many times? 50, 50, 50, and 50. So 4 times, it looks like. Let me actually search and see. "50 cubits is also one of the ark sizes. So if that's going to end up being something that is also, if 50 is also going to mean righteousness, then that's something that we want to bring with us on our trip. The ark is us as we're flooding out the past and going on to a new life. Righteousness is one of the things we're going to need to have with us. So that would fit there if that's the case. Where was that? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's just 4 times it appears right there. But then beyond that, it starts going in, and again, he spoke to him, and it goes a little bit different. It says 40 2 times, 30 twice, 20 twice. So the question then becomes at some point, are they simply creating an analog farm? And what we have to do is keep the righteousness. Yeah, I can get there. The 40, 50, it starts getting into, okay, now start searching that. Where does that show up? How does that interpret in the story? Does it fit in the same place in the beginning as other things? You know, is 50 always going to be like a placeholder for righteousness? Well, that's what we start looking for. But it goes deeper. Okay, so if it's said twice, does 2 also, does 30 mean righteous, and the fact that it was said twice also mean righteous? And the fact that it was said, that 30 was said twice, does 30 and 2 also mean that? It starts branching out to the point you're going, yeah, it can get awful thick, it looks like. And it's going to take a little bit of time. But here's some other things that look like structural pieces here. Things that should smack us in the head and go, that sounds weird. What is that? This was in the beginnings of civilization, chapter 5, what we call chapter 5. Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch, and he built a city and named it Enoch after his son Enoch. All right, so that should sound weird. It absolutely does, doesn't it? That is something that should be saying, here is a pointer. Hello, McFly. Wake up. It sounds strange. It's meant to be something. We know that Enoch is not in the Bible. That was taken out. However, I have the books of Enoch, and the books of Enoch are a monomyth. Enoch is one of 2 people. I don't recall the other one. Enoch never experienced death. His story is a little bit different. And you think, okay, well, that's fun. But if we go all the way back into Hebrews, one of Paul's letters, way back in near the end, just before Revelations here, 11:5. By faith, Enoch was taken so that he did not experience death, and he was not found because God had taken him. For it was attested before he was taken away that he had pleased God. So there's a book of Enoch that is pointed to in Genesis, taken out of the Bible for the religion, but Paul later on saying, psst, shh, hey, go back and look. Yeah, there's something going on in here. So things like that is what we're looking for. Things that just sound like they're bizarre. They're meant to be attention-getting devices. There's other stuff in there that get too thick for me. Like I said, the cities and things like that. I've used an example before of, just here locally, I know Las Vegas and Los Angeles in the United States have nicknames as like Sin City and the City of Angels. I think they're probably both Sin City, actually. But the nickname is such. And if you were writing that in a story, it would sound like it's really there. And I think that's what they're doing here too, that all of the names represent something. Even if they're real and in their culture, they're still not being held on the template level. There's something different. They represent something different. They're analogous. They are not historical. I believe as we go through here that there's going to be certain things, like when you start off, you go east of Eden, that throughout the story, every time somebody has to go a certain direction, that is going to represent things turn bad or things turn good. If you're going west, you're going up, you're going down, that all of those are going to be like this graph we can almost chart. I was talking to Van about this. Almost take a piece of graph paper, maybe sit down and right in the middle, call that Eden, or maybe up at the top, and then just start going, okay, well, here's first we start east, and then what happens to the next person? Oh, we go this direction. Just go through and see what kind of a pattern emerges. Maybe it draws a picture of something. I don't know. We read left to right. They read right to left, didn't they? So I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how that would work. It's a puzzle though that is not simple. It is really deep. I think that all let's look at these for a second here. There's something going on here too. And I'm not going to read a lot of them, just a couple here. The days of Adam after he became the father of Seth were 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. Here's how it starts. When Seth had lived 105 years, he became the father of Enosh. Seth lived after the birth of Enosh 807 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. When Enosh had lived 99 years. Okay, so if these are all somehow codes for something, what and how? I mean, obviously they're not true, and people that read them as literal are not. That's just, there's something in here that we can get after. The people that think it's true, they carry the ark. They don't look inside. The religious people are the carriers of the ark. They are. All right, you see that there's stuff in there that you look at and go, yeah, there's something in there that's for a reason that we're supposed to analyze, and we're way out of time. What is that, 3,500, 4,000 years old? The verbiage was probably around longer than, Genesis being written down. And it morphs from Egypt and Mesopotamian material as well. That's what's happening along the way. But the big thing right now is to really, I think, to go through Genesis as best as possible and try to analyze what's there, knowing that it's not going to all be captured. The names of people and the names of cities, if they have specific meanings, that gets deeper. It's very historical. You can see that would take people that are specialized in that area. Like I mentioned earlier, Justin Sledge, Dr. Sledge, people like that are they're very good at their material. Dr. Bartnerman, maybe for I don't know, New Testament material. But in all of those guys' cases, as I watch and I listen to them, none of them know that there's a template in there. They're very focused and they know their material very well. You step back and look, you go, oh, you know what? You guys are all sharing something in common. Do you know that? And they don't. They're too close to it. But that's what is needed to get the further details. Their kind of knowledge and the fact that they are close to it lets them know, oh, that city, yeah, this something always bad happened there. This meant this. I heard one time before 40, it was a DVD, the Moses Code or something like that. I think that somebody mentioned that, the Jewish masters said that, 40 kind of means the time that it was metaphorical, and it means like the time to completion. And as I look at it and I see that it appears numerous times here, we see it in the Bible here, or right in Genesis as well. It starts off with the 40 days and 40 nights. And every time that 40 emerges, it's going to represent the time right after a purging. So-and-so after, a time frame marries his wife, gets a brand new wife. Same thing. This is a new inner self after a purging of the old self at the age of 40 or things like that. Conceptually, that 40 is always going to be doing that same thing. When the Israelites go into the desert for 40 years, the years don't matter. The 40 does. When Jesus goes into the desert for 40 days, the days don't matter. The 40 does. The 40 is what means something. The 40 means how long it takes for you to heal this. How bad is it? Will an apology do it, or are you going to be in for a couple of years of therapy to figure it out? That's 40 right there. How long it takes. It seems to be. Those are what we need to start listing. Here's what they mean. They're at some point they're mixing things up, but you go right down into that's 7 and 3. You go right to Job, and it starts off. He's got 3 daughters and 7 sons. The 3s and 7s are right there. That's a pure being. That's a consciousness and a subconscious, both emerging from Eve. That's what they're doing. That's why we need to figure out what all those analogous numbers and things are for. Later on, as we're reading things, it might not have something like that. It might have a date. And it's like, oh, on this day, or so-and-so at this age. That age means the purged self to begin with as well. I think if we go through it and analyze it, we'll find it all there, except for the times where it's going to be nebulous, like I don't know what that city meant to them. However, we're going to be able to follow the story and see, oh, it starts out empty, it's going bad, it gets worse, time goes by, there's a healing that needs to take place, there's a division, there's a struggle to leave the past, that those elements are going to continue to be emerging through the stories, no matter what. However, they're held in verb. We're so far removed from it, all the people and the things that are going on. And remembering that all of these play out in the psyche as there's new people and new things. Those are new facets of ourself that are so big that it's not even necessary. It's part of the story. We don't need to have 100 different inner beings, although throughout the day we probably do. And that they're trying to write that in the story there, when what we really know at the end of the day is that we want to turn in and resolve all of the things that emerge out of us that are hurting our lives. That's what it ends up being in simplest form. We don't have to say, well, you have to take care of the pain. You have to take care of the shame. You have to take care of the hatred. You have to take care. You can do all of that, or you can just say you have to take care of what hurts you. And that's inclusive, completely inclusive. They're going the long route. They are. So the depth of it is beyond what we need to see the template. But there are specific details hidden at a deeper layer. When Jason sails with 40 Argonauts, those are 40 different people that have different skills. These are what I'm bringing on the adventure. I've got the capacity to fight, the capacity to tame the beast, to soothe, different things like that. Jesus, 12 disciples, you take those names and what do the names mean in their time? And then those are the qualities you're taking with you. I become Jesus on the trip. The 12 disciples are my justice, we even have Doubting Thomas in there. We've got our fears. All of these are going along with us on the adventure. That is how these break down at that level. And it can be very scary for some people. Okay. I'm going to let this one do that. If anybody has any questions, comment, please help out. Those are the things I'm looking for. It's not magical or mystical. It's patterned, weird stuff that points to something, and you just keep looking at it and go, where does it point to? Count it up, look at it. They could do it all in their head. We are at a disadvantage. As clever as this sounds, we're struggling. Some little kid back then could have just pulled up, the number's here, there, all that kind of stuff. We're at a disadvantage. We have the computer. We've got other things that working on our advantage. It's not like we're totally lost. But here specifically, knowing what's going on and that is what it looked like to me. There was a story that was simpler, and then it was added to that started taking on repetitive elements that were meant to create more analogs so that this could go from the book of Genesis to the Torah to, it goes on all the way. Yeah, all the way down to, Islam. There you are. Not the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith did not know the template was there. He just created a Mormon. It's like any religious book, praising God, do this, do that, or something like that. Here's the right way to live that's uninspired. They're not framed on the template. They're framed on a belief in the supernatural shell. That's exactly what Mormonism is. It's framed on the supernatural. I guess that's it for this one. I just wanted to put that out there. I think as I start going through it, I'm going to just be collecting these things. It's time to start making lists and creating what it is. Then later, as we're going through and reading stories and there's dates or things like that happening, we can refer back to this and go, yeah, they're pulling from that pool right there. Oh, this is coming from the struggle to leave the past. This is coming from, oh, you're looking for that pure state again, that pool of words, numbers, things like that come from there. I believe that's what we're going to find, and we're going to be astounded. It'll blow our minds. Okay, that's it for this video. Everybody looking on your own? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Do that. I think that's what we're holding it. We're carrying it. We just don't know. We don't know that that's what it's doing. Once we do, we can start looking at it. You turn inward with it and go, okay, I got it. It's right here. It's in our hands. We just have to process it in modernity. when we don't have the mindsets or whatever, we lack what they had. We've got something different. We have to try to figure out what they have going on. Okay, that's it for this video, everyone. Yeah, looking forward to getting into it and listing the analogs. You can see it's going to be a big job, and some of those numbering things, I don't even have them figured out yet. Maybe as the numbers reveal and those pools come about, that it will emerge. All we can do is proceed, and I think that as we learn things, we'll see that there's something else that's, oh, here's what that is. And then it'll start making other things fall into place. But we just have to keep prodding at it, piecing it together, and trying to fit it. In my head, in my own imagination, I see it like this. If I close my eyes, it seems like I can see a grid pattern out in front of me, but not very far off in the distance, it fades off into fogginess. It disappears. But I can see a little bit. But I've discovered so far that as I keep moving along each one, that foggy distance keeps moving back a little bit too. It continues to reveal itself as you move along. It continues to emerge. So all you can do is go, I don't know. Let's go figure it out. And that's what we're doing. All right. Hope this was interesting, and I hope it helps you look at things. Yeah. If it sounds weird, it's meant to. There's something in there. All right. Take care.